I think I'm a special one.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Hey guys, we're back. This is episode 41 on the Half Turn podcast. What's up, Chad?
What's going on? Might be looking a little different. How do I sound? Good?
You sound all right. You look ugly.
Bro, come on.
You know
can't
I was
do
going
with that first couple
Hold on.
seconds of the podcast.
So we're just testing out a new platform. Instead of using Zoom, we're using another website. It has a built-in soundboard. It might work out better. We'll see. But I figured going into the World Cup, it'd be cool to take audio clips of us and put them on a soundboard or something, or audio clips popular soccer audio clips. Upload them to the soundboard. That'd be kind of funny. So this is episode 41. We're just going to be recapping U.S. men's national team's two friendlies against Japan, 2-0 loss and 0-0 tie with Saudi Arabia. Obviously, results don't matter, but I figured we just talk about who we thought played well, who's booked their ticket to Qatar already.
Results do matter, I think.
In friendlies, yeah? They matter
Well,
big time
maybe
in friendlies?
for the U.S. fans wanted to see a good result, is what I'm trying to say.
I guess so. And
These weren't just normal friendlies. They were the last friendlies leading up to a World Cup.
Yeah, and we did not look good. So, real quick, Chad, what are you wearing?
New pickup. I got the pink Everton jersey this year. Anthony Gordon, number 10 on the back. Probably my favorite Everton player, so.
And he might get sold.
Maybe. And, of course, shout out Talisman Caps. Support local hat. Pretty fire. What you got?
I'm just rocking my Landon Donovan LA Galaxy retro jersey. I've worn this on here before. It's just the yellow with the green sash, old school Galaxy as Donovan 10 on the back.
Wow, never seen that before.
I think I wore it 2 or 3 times, but he was one of my favorite players growing up. Every American kid was like, "Oh, Landon Donovan, he's the best." And I think I was number 21 when I was little because Landon Donovan was 21 at one point for the national team. There's no union back in the day, so at the Galaxy were just kind of like a team, people. There was 12 MLS teams, so you're just like, oh, I'm a Galaxy fan, or oh, I like the Galaxy, or I like Landon Donovan. So
Galaxy was the team.
The D team, yeah, dude, the old Galaxy before Alexi Lawless kind of rebranded with Beckham. Because remember, Lawless was the general manager who brought Beckham in and helped rebrand the organization.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So where do you want to start with the national team? The last episode we talked about the roster and what we thought of the roster. You just want to go game by game and kind of break it down?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the roster. We basically know who's on the roster. We could just start with the game, start with the lineup.
Yeah.
Just talk about our thoughts of the game, each game. And so once we get through the Japan game, then we could talk about the Saudi Arabia game, and then maybe at the end, our takeaways from this and questions.
Yeah. Very, very thorough breakdown there. All right, let's go. Read us the first names on the team sheet for the Japan game.
All right, I got it. So, Matt Turner in goal. We got Sam Vines left back, Dest right back. 2 center backs are Long and Zimmerman. 3 center mids were McKenzie, Adams, and De La Torre. Reyna and Aronson were the wingers, and Jesus Ferreira started at the 9.
Yeah. So, no real surprise there. We kind of figured Turner he did get both games in this window. No Zach Steffen. It's pretty much Turner, Steffen, and at this point it's looking like Turner, who was really good against Japan and against Saudi Arabia. Vines at left back, I think, was, no Anthony Robinson. I think it was just kind of like throwing him a bone, like, hey, can you be the backup left back? I think we all expected Aaron Long and Zimmerman to be partnered together, so that wasn't really a surprise. And Dest on the right, you would think is the first choice right back,
Yeah.
Midfield, I think Adams, McKenzie getting every chance to play they can. No Yunus Musah in this camp, so I think that's why we saw Del Torre. Then who was it? Reyna and Aronson as the wingers.
Yes.
So Pulisic was out of this game with a knock. No Tim Weah either; he's hurt, and then Ferreira as the 9. So this seemed like the closest lineup we would get to an actual like World Cup game. I feel like before this Japan game, if Berhalter had to make a lineup for the first World Cup game, it would be something similar to this: 4-3-3 with Adams as a single pivot, Weston McKennie a little higher, another center midfielder a little higher, Ferreira as like a number 9 that runs in behind and drops deep to get the ball.
Yeah, it's probably our strongest lineup from the camp.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Vines. I feel like Vines is in there to, like you said, like try and win that spot at left back.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't watch the game live. I recorded it, but everybody on Twitter and podcasts were just like bashing us. They're like, "Oh, we can't build out. It looked terrible." I watched the first 8 to 10 minutes, and I was like, "It doesn't look as bad as people think." And then I watched like minute 10 to minute like 25, and I was like, "Oof, like we really can't get out." But I think people just are so like they're looking to be negative at this point, and like Japan's pretty good. Like we're not playing a bad team here.
I don't think fans are looking to be negative. They're looking for something. They're looking for something positive, right? Like looking into the World Cup, which is like 50 days away or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're trying to find something like positive from the game. And like, yeah, Japan was really good. I think Japan prepared for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like actually went out and prepared for us. Like that's how they're going to prepare for a World Cup game, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to go out prepare. They're going to get ready. Maybe they're already set on their roster pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they started a pretty strong 11. They're already set on their roster. They're like honing in on their style of play. And now they're just like preparing for games, right? Like how they would prepare for a World Cup game.
Yeah, and it's similar to like a scrimmage. I think they went out and was like, here's how we're going to prepare, and almost like preparing for the preparation. So they're in the cycle. They know how a team builds up, how they want to press, where they want the ball to go, all of that kind of stuff. Where the U.S., I don't think was at that level. I think it was Berhalter saying, here's how we're going to play our game. Go play our game, not specific to Japan or anything. And it gave us trouble. We played like our 4-3-3 kind of normal. Wingbacks get a little higher. Adams dropping in a single pivot to get the ball. Del Torre was like pretty close to Adams for most of the game, similar to what Yunus Musah would do. Del Torre at this point is just kind of like the backup Yunus Musah. And it just didn't look good. Japan like pressed in a 4-4-2, and like any time we had like a backwards pass or like a slow rolling ball, they would press. They squeezed the middle and forced our center backs to play, and they couldn't, right? Long wasn't great with the ball. Zimmerman wasn't great with the ball.
Yeah.
Nothing dangerous.
Sorry to cut you off. Berhalter came out and complained a little bit about the pitch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's terrible.
Did you? Yeah, it is terrible, but like you can't really blame it on that, right?
No, like it's a waste of time to like say, hey, the pitch was bad. Like, yeah, everyone knows it's bad.
It didn't matter because Zimmerman came out firing passes. I don't know if you saw the full minutes. He fired like 2 really like hard passes. He was probably feeling himself. But I wouldn't like Japan did press well, but it was more like trap the players in the midfield. Like if we went to play in the midfield, we were losing it. You know. Yeah. We never really looked to, like, skip the midfield out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first few minutes, Ferreira gets that header. I think it's a longer ball over the top that we kind of like run onto, and is it Dest puts the ball in?
Dest put the ball in.
Ferreira, and he misses it. And then, the two in the midfield would squeeze the ball, force it to the center backs, but also blocking the pass to Adams. So when we're playing with two center backs and one defensive midfielder pivot, that's three players versus their front two. So if they can take Adams out of the game, now it's a 2v2 with their center backs, with our center backs versus their forwards. And then they could squeeze. And I don't think our outside backs were prepared to drop in and help. So you have Adams not being able to get on the ball. And Adams isn't shifty enough to get on the ball in a pressure avoidance way. Like, he's not going to get on the ball under pressure, dribble it out, and then complete a pass. Luca Della Torre was pretty ineffective most of the game. Like, he looks pretty good in like CONCACAF games. We're up, we can keep the ball ticking. In games like this, I don't think he's effective at all. And Weston McKennie's just not clean with the ball. Early in the game, there was a couple little combos where it was like zinged into Dest, who zinged it into McKennie, who set it back, and we almost got out. But for the most part, when we're under pressure, you just can't even play a ball into McKennie because he's not going to do anything with it.
Yeah, I always thought the team goes how McKennie goes. Like, during that run. What's that?
He's the engine?
Pretty much, yeah. Mm-hmm. During the run in qualifying, McKennie, you could probably was our best player in qualifying, over the course of qualifying, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we did decent. Mm-hmm. You would think in a game like this, Della Torre would actually be pretty good, like tight spaces, be able to play out of a press or something. Mm-hmm. But I guess that just wasn't the case. Like, what do you think the solution is for like a game like this? Like, where you have like no time on the ball, like the space between the lines is like so tight.
Yeah. So really, like, one of the things I noticed was, so Adams would be coming back to the center backs, couldn't get it. Della Torre would drop next to Adams to try and get the ball. And there were times where Della Torre is being marked pretty tightly, and he would pull a little bit wider, and he would still be closer to a defender, so you can't get Della Torre the ball. And Ferreira kept coming back for the ball. Aronson kept coming back for the ball. And there were times where it would be like Adams, Della Torre, Aronson, and McKennie as like a four-man center midfield. And Japan just, like, their fullback would track Aronson. So if Aronson's playing right wing, who's going to track Aronson? Their left back, right? So their left back tracks Aronson. So Dest was open, and Turner missed him a couple times. Della Torre pulls out. Aronson drops in. Now there's a massive gap for Dest. Turner's just got to clip one in. And maybe if there's a goalie controversy, it's who can hit that ball the best. And I don't know if that was something Berhalter wanted to see, but I think Turner might have just missed it. Like, he just didn't see those gaps there.
Right. Okay.
And even when, like, let's say Walker Zimmerman had the ball at right center back, Japan's left midfielder would be between Della Torre and Dest. So if the ball went to Dest, Dest is getting pressed right away. If the ball went to Della Torre, he's getting pressed right away from the left midfielder and the center mid. So we had to be quick getting it in and out of the center mids to suck Japan in. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Japan was really well organized in the spaces between our players. So that way, whichever player went to, they could go to.
Yeah. So my question is, like, what do you think the solution is to that?
I think we missed the outs to get to the fullbacks. And we got to be able to, like, there were times where we were trying to be patient and build up really slow, which I think Berhalter wants to do, and which has been a theme for this team. But if you're doing that, you can't have a time where you're not clean in possession. The one time we get pressed and Turner has to make a big save and Zimmerman has to get back, it goes from Long, I think Devine's back to Long, over to Turner, and Turner's first touch isn't like in front of him, it's kind of behind him. And you know how when you take a bad touch, you take like one or two steps to like really fast to get back to the ball? Mm-hmm. It's not a bad touch. It doesn't bobble. It's just not where he wants it. Then Japan inches up off that bad touch. Now they're 5 yards closer before you can get your head up again. Now the next one into Zimmerman, he's being pressed. Then the ball into the midfield is already being cut out. so Del Torre can't receive it. So it's like a chain reaction, especially when you're playing against a 4-4-2 where everyone's kind of in the passing lanes. So I don't think we were clean enough while trying to build up slowly. And I hate to blame it on the personnel, but the difference between a game like Saudi Arabia where we're playing a high line and a game like Japan where we're building up from deep, like Long might not be the guy for that. But everything from the U.S. has been, we want to play a high line, but if we're building up from so deep, we're not able to play in their half and play a high line.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, we kept losing the ball. Why are we still constantly trying to play out of the back, right? What's our identity? Why isn't John Brooks in the team? Why isn't, dare I say it, Tim Ream in the team? You know?
So
because we want to play players like Long and Zimmerman together. Yet, against a team that's organized and press well, we want to play out of the back on a slow field. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. Is Berhalter caught in two minds here? Like, is he trying to develop Aaron Long into this player that we know he when have you ever seen any Red Bull team? He plays for the Red Bulls. When have you ever seen any of those teams play good possession soccer? From the six kick all the way to the right. We know the profile of a Red Bull team, and the profile of a Red Bull center back.
And if you think of Walker Zimmerman, he plays for, I think, the Nashville coach Gary Smith. Like, they don't mess around with it in the back a whole lot either. Like, they'll hoof it up the field if they need to.
Yeah,
I agree. I also think Chris Richards was hurt. Like, I think his preferred center back is Chris Richards over Aaron Long. I mean, look, just because we didn't build up well, like, people are like, oh, this team, like, we don't have the horses to build up. We don't have the personnel. Like, a coach for the national team shouldn't be playing a system. They should play to the players. Like, okay, I guess if you're just like, the results, the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is getting out of the group or winning this game. But, like, isn't it inspiring to have a coach that, like, sets his mind to do something and tries to do it? Like, say, I'm going to play out of the back. I'm going to take our national team from being grinders and hardworking and sit behind the ball to try and progress as a soccer country, as a national team, as, like, an idea of how we want our country to play. Whether it's right or wrong or gets the results or not, I'd rather have that than somebody who's just, like, super reactionary and just prepares for each opponent differently.
Well, then you're getting in the topic of, should a national team coach a team like that? Like, national team coaches usually aren't the type of coaches to coach, like, a certain system. Mm-hmm. They're there to put the best players on the field and try and get results.
Well,
right? I think Berhalter
has to say with the youth national teams too. If you can get the best U16 players in the U.S. to play for the USMNT U16s and the U17s and 18s and 21s and 20s and 21s and 23s and whatever, then you could have years of playing for, knowing you're going to the national team and playing this style. So you could get more soccer playing this style. But yeah, like, even going down to the youth national teams, like, okay, a guy like Paxton Aronson or, like, these Union youth players, they don't play any similar style to how Berhalter plays, but they're the best U20 players we have. So they play for the US U20s. So, like, they're not going to play how they play for their club like they do for their country. So, yeah, it's a tough spot.
Sorry.
And then, like, some of the, it's just everyone has a hot take when the U.S. looks bad, and it's just annoying that people are like, this doesn't fit our players. Let's get rid of it. Or why is Berhalter hold on to these players too long? It's like come on, like, you're just going to keep harping on these same issues that really aren't, like, us trying to play possession wasn't a big problem against, like, Honduras or whatever in the World Cup qualifying. Like, people
wanted, because it's against Honduras, and then when we play teams outside the country, and we play teams who are playing and competing in a World Cup, can't get wins. Berhalter's record outside the United States is awful. I don't even know if he has a win.
So, but isn't there something to be said where you could congratulate, like, be proud of a guy who, like, tries to play the same way? Like, at some point we're going to have to be like, look, we got to be the better soccer country than some of these, and outplay teams instead of out defend and tactic them. Like, it's been that for years. We've been one of the best in CONCACAF, and then we go to these other countries and we're not as good, and we just play defense.
That's never really been the identity of, like, the USA team, though. Like,
I guess, but
unless he's trying to change, like, American soccer as possession-based, whatever.
He literally is. Like, he started – there's a YouTube video where inside the lines, or what's it called, behind the crest?
Yeah.
Where he starts a presentation and he says, "Why are we here?" And it was a picture of the World Cup trophy, and then he says, "We're here to change the way the world views American soccer." So, like, he clearly has that goal of taking the U.S. as one thing and making them into a more progressive soccer program. So, even if it works out, I'm okay. Like, if we lose all 3 games of the World Cup, yeah, it would suck. But I'd rather see progress in the soccer than just, bail out for, like, a random fluke win or 2.
You'd rather just see progress than, like, get out there. Like, say we... Never mind. I'm just not even going to...
All right, no. I'll get into it because...
No, it's fine.
It got me thinking when I was listening to a couple podcasts about this game. Like, there's problems with this game. But all along, people, even since COVID, when, like, before World Cup qualifying, people have been saying, this is the most talented player pool we've ever had. We have youngsters at Dortmund and youngsters at Chelsea and a young player at Leipzig at the time and Leeds and all this stuff. It's like, this is not the best player pool we've had. Like, yeah, we have more, like, younger players in Europe. That's great. Those players can eventually, like, get to that level, hopefully. But, one, there's more young players to come. In 5-10 years, we're going to have more players over in Europe playing at the top leagues. Look at Japan. Like, just name a few. Kubo playing for Japan. Tomiyasu playing for Japan. Some of the other names that I can't even pronounce or don't even know, all playing for big clubs in Europe that play for Japan. And we're supposed to be better than Japan because we have, like, Gio Reyna, who plays, like, once every 5 games for Dortmund. Like, this is not, like, this player pool is very overrated by the fans, especially by the Berhalter haters.
When Gio Reyna's healthy, he plays way more than every 5 games for Dortmund.
When he's healthy. I'm not saying this isn't a talented player pool either, because, like, I love some of these guys, but the people assume that we should just walk on the field and be better. I mean, look at the Wales national team. Like, look at some of the clubs that some of those guys play on. It's like, we're not, if you just judge it based on that, we're not that much better than a lot of the other mid-tier countries in the...
Okay, so you're okay with just beating the Honduras and the El Salvadors.
And eventually playing a certain style.
Accepting the fact that, Japan's better than us.
Well, Japan is better than us.
There's nations with the best players in the world, 5 to 7 or 8, and then there's every other nation has a few good players. The U.S. falls into that category.
Can you look up the countries in Pot 2 for the World Cup?
Sure.
Let's see. Compare us to other Pot 2 countries and see who has more "quote unquote" talent. It's not us. Do you have it up?
Yeah, Mexico, Netherlands, Denmark.
All right, keep going.
Germany, Uruguay, Switzerland, and Croatia.
Okay, so take a lot of those countries, right? Like, not to say we are deserving of Pot 2, but, like, Croatia. Like, all right, Luka Modric, they just have players at all big clubs, all, like, getting way more minutes than, like, Pulisic or Tyler Adams at these big clubs. Who's another one? Like, obviously, Netherlands, we all know that, right? Like, we would be losing our minds if we had a player like Virgil van Dijk or Frankie de Jong or whatever. We're losing our minds because we had John Brooks, who played for Wolfsburg, got shunned out of Wolfsburg, is now playing in where? Somewhere weird.
Benfica.
Yeah, like that player wouldn't even get a sniff on a Netherlands or Denmark. Denmark has talent all over the place and have, like, some of the highest levels. So, like, to say that we're just more talented than a lot of these teams, like,
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But do you not want to see like progression? Like, do you not get concerned the fact that
You there?
what did we finish in? Did we finish third in qualifying?
Sorry, you froze for a sec. Repeat that.
Did we finish second or third in qualifying?
I think second.
Either second or third. And our record away from outside the U.S. is awful. Like, the U.S. are not good outside the U.S.
Okay, that was, I think, part of the reason we scheduled these friendlies in Europe. But what are you trying to argue, or what are you trying to say?
What'd you say? Sorry.
What are you trying to say about playing outside the U.S.? What do you mean?
I'm trying to say, like, don't you want to see, like, progression?
That's what I'm saying. I'm judging progression based on, like, the style of play. And not so much like, oh, like, Japan's pressing us in a friendly, let's hoof it long because we need to. Like, it's one thing to know when to hoof it long or to play a long ball or whatever, but, like, if you think you're going to build up slowly, out of the back, methodically, and that's your idea of good soccer and progression as a soccer program, then do it.
Okay, but I'm not against, like, playing, like, progression soccer, but the fact that we do it and then we fail at it and then we put players on the field who just, that's not that player, like, it's not Aaron Long's fault that he can't pass a ball. Like,
Yeah.
Aaron Long never hit a skip pass, like, should never skip a player with a pass. That's not really his fault. Like, he's doing the best he can, but it's probably Berhalter's fault for picking him and putting him in that spot and making him look bad. Right? Like, the amount of people who are like, dude, Aaron Long sucks. I like Aaron Long. And he's not. All right. Don't laugh.
No, he's just a funny, like, guy.
But is the USMNT coaching staff putting him in the best positions to succeed there?
Well, we're going to have to fail at some point doing this, right? We're not just going to.
But, dude,
we're not going to grind our way to a World Cup. Hold on. We're not going to grind our way to
the World Cup and we're failing at it. While Japan's, like, has everything all set. Dude,
I got you.
They are ready for the World Cup.
Time out, bro. Time out. You hear me?
Yeah.
All right. You keep kind of skipping in and out. First of all, if we don't fail at this, we're never going to get there. So, like, you almost have to take, like, we failed to qualify for the World Cup, but we didn't fail to qualify for the World Cup playing an attractive system or something that's getting us to the next level. If we just grind out World Cups or international results or whatever and get another round of 16 exit, like, that doesn't get us to the next level because you're not just going to be bad. Like, you're not going to be bad at something and then suddenly be great. You're going to have to fail a couple times to get there. So, like, if this is the failure to get us there, like the sacrifice, the failure, like, I'm okay with that. And I'd rather stick to it, even if it means we might struggle at times. Another
dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good the U.S. gets at soccer. At some point, they're going to have to grind through a game.
I got you.
You're saying, like, no, I don't want them to grind. I don't want them to have to grind through a game. Like, dude, we're going to the World Cup. They have to play England. They're 100% going to have to grind through that game.
Okay, but wouldn't it be nice to go toe-to-toe with England and, like, match them, 50% possession, 50% possession, 10 shots to 10 shots?
I don't think that's in the cards.
All right, maybe not. I also just said I don't think we're as talented as people think. But here's another, like, topic for us to discuss that's outside of this Japan game. Japan is a very organized culture. Everything is very structured. They know what they're doing, and it reflects in their national team. We don't have that in our national team. Not saying, like people think of, like, the American spirit and grinding and working hard. Like, that used to be reflected in our national team. But at this point, I think we should be, like, moving on to a higher level of soccer, and it doesn't match. So what I'm trying to say is, like, the national team is often a reflection of the culture, correct?
Maybe.
Which is a reflection on the youth system that that develops the players.
Probably, yeah.
You've heard me complain about our youth system for years.
You don't need to do that in this episode.
So another way to say, hey, our players aren't talented enough is to say we should be developing better players at all levels. not just the MLS Next players, not just players playing in college, not just players playing in MLS or abroad to Europe. If every player at every grassroots level was 10, 15% better with the ball, then we'd have a better national team. If everyone watched that U.S. game and said, dang, Aaron Long needs to be better with the ball. Well, why don't we reverse engineer
talk about Aaron Long like this?
Hold on. Bring it back to Aaron Long's career. He was probably the biggest, fastest, strongest kid. He might have played up top and chased the ball, and he played in the back because he could run after the ball and kick it out. Was anyone telling Aaron Long to be confident on the ball and try to dribble around a few guys? Probably not. Right? So, like, the people just saying, oh, we got to get rid of Aaron Long and bring in, like, John Brooks or something. Like, there's other ways to approach this problem from a longer-term point of view and say we need to take the Aaron Longs that are naturally athletes and put them in the best soccer situations.
You just want them to be like, so casual fan watching the Japan game going, dang, Aaron Long, you know what? We should just develop better dribblers.
If you mix Neymar and Aaron Long, is he the perfect player?
I just want them to be more creative.
But
That's what you want them to do?
Yeah.
Like, people are focused on the World Cup. That's 50 days away.
I got you. I get it. And we're talking about the national team, but, like, I feel like part of this podcast would make us different from a, like, just random reactionary U.S. men's national team podcast is, like, let's look at the root cause. Let's look at, like, what's actually going on in the world of soccer. And, like, that is a problem we have. If every player could do a little bit better, every center back, if they didn't identify as a center back until they were 15, but they identified as, like, a really good player with the ball, we'd be better off, right? And then we could play this style. We could say, hey, we're taking our style of play to the next level. And it's got to come from the top down, I think, with
right.
U.S. Soccer, the federation, national team, leagues, right?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
It just got me mad when people who don't really know anything about, like, the youth, like the broader soccer landscape, are just want to, like, swap one player in for another player and then talk about how we need to, like, change up the system totally. Like, you know, like, I love Jimmy Conrad, right? We listen to Jimmy Conrad's podcast and Soccer We Trust. But Charlie Davies gets on there and he's talking about, like, oh, possession doesn't fit our players, so we just can't play possession. We got to kick a long ball up the field. It's like, and win second balls like Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United did. That's what we want to do. We've gone all this way. Already spent 4 years with Berhalter, and now we want to play for second balls.
There's a middle between that possession soccer where everyone can keep possession of the ball, play from end to end, and then there's another end where you just kick it up the field and 4-4-2, whatever. And then there's a middle, right? Can't you like we used to play? Me and you used to play in a team where this team could play both possession and play direct.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think the U.S. team should be somewhere in the middle, but they're, like, somewhere over here where they want to play possession. Now, at least just from the Japan game we saw, right?
Yeah, and look, there'll be times where playing possession leads to opportunities to play direct, and we have to be able to view those and, like, to see those opportunities and take them. And it's a friendly. In the World Cup, I don't think we'll be as hesitant to take those opportunities to bang one in their end and turn them around and go. But in a friendly, I'd rather us try to work on their problems. And to be honest, we made some pretty good halftime adjustments. We changed up the shape a little bit. I think we bring in Reggie Cannon.
Yeah, for Dest, right?
Well, Reggie Cannon slotted in closer to the back. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, we can get back to the tactics now.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. You think that's Berhalter's plan B? Because I watched the post game press conference. He was like, "Yeah, we didn't like our build up shape, so we switched our build up shape."
Yeah.
And clearly, like, he's done it before, where you build up with 3 center backs.
Yeah.
Finally got Vines a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying how little the amount of touch. I don't even know if that makes sense.
How, like, he didn't
have many touches in in our attacking half of the field.
Yeah.
In the first half. Mm-hmm. So get him higher up the field, then you can get a winger out there on the right side, get him high up the field, and then you have more players to play within the midfield.
Yeah, the middle of the park. I think it's definitely a theme. And look, we talked about how we were trying to build up with against a 4-4-2. If you build up with two center backs and a pivot, you're in for a three versus two, right? But if Japan is doing a good job of taking away the pivot and the other center mids are ineffective getting on the ball, then your pivot isn't doing any good and you have to drop a player back. Like back in like the 2014 World Cup, you had like Kyle Beckerman dropping in between the center backs. That stuff happens too. But here we just sub in another player who's like closer to the center backs. And now it's easier to build up because you get it out to the right center back who can then step up past that first line of pressure with the ball and is comfortable playing passes. And then, we'll talk about the Saudi Arabia game, but that's like kind of how we started the Saudi Arabia game. Like any other takeaways from this Japan game other than the typical plan? I think the typical plan A 4-3-3 buildup that he originally wanted to play is probably a no-go in the World Cup. I think it's going to have to be one of these hybrid, like,
It can be.
defenders.
It can be because we didn't have Musah, right? Musah likes to play next to Adams. Almost the end of this podcast. And like I said last episode, it's kind of like free roll.
Mm-hmm.
Go get the ball, create something.
Yeah.
Maybe that was De La Torre's role in the first half. He didn't really succeed at that, but I'm still a big De La Torre fan.
Also,
what's the role of the six? So Tyler Adams, what's his role when the U.S. are like under pressure and being pressed? Like, what's his role? Just to balance it, be able to turn with it, switch play.
He shouldn't be turning. I think his role is to bounce it either back to the guy who passed it to him or to the side to change the angle a little bit. But he wasn't effective getting on the ball, and really, he's not that good at it either. Like he's a bit overrated. Like, I'm not gonna hate Tyler Adams because I like him, but like he's not anything special at this level. Every team has somebody that could do that role. But back to our topic with like players, like we're relying on what, a 20-year-old Yunus Musah. If our whole team can't build up because we don't have a Yunus Musah in there, dude's 20 years old and didn't even get developed in the U.S. So we're the U.S. national team, relying on a player that didn't get developed in the U.S. How can we replicate his development in the U.S. to have 20 Yunus Musahs coming through the system, right? We have all these central midfielders that come up through the U.S., but they're all very like stagnant and slow on the ball and like just pass. Yunus Musah gets it, changes the pace, gets it, can break pressure, right? Isn't that the most important thing for a center midfielder?
Yeah, and the fact that he's so athletic.
Yeah, we need more Yunus Musah types.
Right.
But
we need
anything else? Anything else from Japan game?
Just that we actually started the second half pretty well. I thought when Malik Tillman and Johnny Cardoso came in, that's when it just fell off.
Yeah.
Like
I think Cardoso
started to go back to Japan a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of Tillman. He's not a 22 guy.
he subbed in both games too. I don't know. I don't think he's going to make the roster either. But and Cardoso, I think, is just kind of there. Congrats on the cap, dude. But like, you're not going to the World Cup. Sorry.
Puts on his resume, almost made World Cup.
He can put it on his LinkedIn. All right, you want to go to the Saudi Arabia game?
Yeah, sure.
This game was more interesting because I felt like Japan was just a bunch of things like weighing on everybody, right? Berhalter has all this time to plan the camp, couple injuries, couple key guys are out. Japan like punches us in the mouth a little bit. We can't figure it out. We kind of figured it out in the second half. But the Saudi Arabia game seems like a game that's closer to Iran and probably Wales, where we'll be able to get the ball a little bit more and play a little bit more. And I thought we played much better in this game too. I know it's not Saudi Arabia's like top like there was key Saudi Arabia players missing, and they're not that good anyway. But a couple interesting things, right? You want to just read us the starting lineup real quick?
Yeah, so Matt Turner started again. Berhalter said that's mostly because he doesn't think Turner's going to get that much game time with Arsenal. That was his excuse. And then went on to say he feels bad for Sean Johnson and Ethan Horvath.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's what he said. All right, and then center backs were Aaron Long, Walker Zimmerman, Yedlin on the right, Dest on the left, Adams, Acosta, Mckenzie. Pepe got the nod, and then Pulisic and Reyna were the two wingers.
Yeah, so Reyna subs himself out after 20 minutes, says it's just a strain, but, that's a shame. Couple things. I think Long and Zimmerman better in this game, still not super clean. Long gave away a few passes. Yedlin's pretty good, man. Like, Yedlin's going to start at least one World Cup game. And Dest played, you know how we were just talking about, like, Reggie Cannon slide in as, like, a third center back? Like, building up with three? That's pretty much what Dest did. He didn't really go forward a whole lot.
Yeah.
And he started central. Dest was our best player in this game from the left. Anytime he got the ball, when he had space, he could just, like take it up a notch, like change his speed and go. And whether he was like dribbling inside to draw someone, and that kind of lets Pulisic like stay wide too.
There was so much space for the U.S. in that game on like a switch. Playing on one side, you're able to switch it. I think that's why. I don't know if that was a tactical thing or if that was just Dest being able to like pick up the ball in that area on that left side. I don't even know what you would even call that.
Yeah, it's not like
they allowed that space on either side of the center positions.
But
Saudi Arabia did,
yeah.
and when we were able to switch it, like we looked pretty good. But once we got there, then I think there needs to be more. I think there needs to be like more movement. Stuff from the front line. Like, I don't think it's that hard for a team to just make a couple runs in a sequence. Like, make a few decoy runs, right? Maybe test the center back, see if they can hold their line. And if they don't one time, then space opens up, right?
Yeah.
Like, say Pepe just checks to the ball and then just darts, right? You think one of those Saudi Arabia center backs is going to think, oh, crap, let me drop off just a little bit. Say he drops off 4 yards. Maybe the next guy drops off 4 yards. That allows space for Pulisic to go get the ball. Now, in this game, I just think we just kind of stood there waiting for the ball, like nothing was really happening up top.
I don't know. I thought like this is closer to a system of play that could be effective in the World Cup, right? Like, whether it's Adams and maybe Acosta in this game is Musah in the World Cup, because I don't think Acosta is really going to be starting World Cup games. But Dest on that side, like I like Anthony Robinson. I think we talked about how good he was going forward. But if a team's going to give that space to a center back, then it's like, all right, like it's not dangerous. But if Dest is playing like a left center back and a three in the back, but he could dribble, he dribbles and starts attacks, like that's dangerous. And then if you could roll out like Adams and another center mid, Mckenzie was almost playing like a forward at times, like the runs you were talking about. Zimmerman chipped a few into Mckenzie. And if we get Mckenzie on his head a couple times, and then because Dest is so tucked inside, it lets Pulisic stay wide. And he almost, like, it lets him find the ball more and then try to find those little combos with Mckenzie or Dest or Pepe. And I think it kind of helps the team. I could see this being like our strongest setup.
That was definitely a thing Berhalter emphasized going into this game was runs from deep, right? Like Mckenzie did them like 2 or 3 times, right, to start the first half. And that's the kind of stuff I like to see, right? That's the kind of stuff that opens up like the space between the lines.
I could see, like, okay, is England going to press us really high with, like, Harry Kane's, like, super slow. I don't think they're going to press that high. Wales tends to sit deep behind the ball. I don't know much about Iran. So if they don't press as high as Japan were and as organized, like, this is something I could see us trying where, like, Mckenzie starts deeper and makes those longer runs. And if Walker Zimmerman has time to get his head up, he could hit a ball with his right foot across his body, aiming for McKennie's head with runners in behind, whether it's Pepe or Ferreira. Reyna didn't find the ball a whole lot, but you got someone like Yedlin could just cover so much ground on the right wing. Reyna's allowed to go inside, and then you have Pulisic kind of.
Yedlin.
He's good, man. Him for the national team is different. I thought Saudi Arabia's best chance was when McKennie lost the ball, similar to what we were talking about with last game, where McKennie's really not that clean in possession. Like, he's best as almost like a second forward, where he's running up, trying to get his head on balls and stuff, because like he gets dispossessed and we almost give up a goal.
Right, that was the best chance of the game, correct?
Yeah. Pepe didn't do a whole lot. He only had, I think they said 13 or 14 touches in the first half. But, like, at that point, if we're playing this way, I don't think it really needs to be Pepe getting the ball. Especially with Pulisic pulling out wide and getting the ball to his feet.
Yeah. Okay, if we want to say it, I think Josh Sargent came into this as third string. Right, because he only subbed in once.
Mm-hmm.
While Ferreira started a game and subbed in, and Pepe started a game.
Do you think he's behind Ferreira and Pepe?
Yeah. Well, not in my eyes, but Berhalter's eyes.
In your eyes, where is he?
Sargent's one of the three forwards going to Qatar.
In your eyes?
Yeah.
Is P-Fock in there too?
P-Fox in there, and so is Ferrer.
No Pepe?
No Pepe. I think Pepe got into this camp like a thank you. A thank you for scoring a few goals in qualifying.
Jeez, dude.
Dude, he only scored 3.
That's a lot of goals in qualifying, though.
2 of them were in one game, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like 3 goals, not like he scored 10.
Yeah, I hear you.
Maybe the Pepe hype train, during the time was a little crazy. I think.
Yeah, I don't know why people were so hyped about him, but a couple of the things I thought were pretty telling in this game.
Okay.
In the Japan game, I don't think we kept the ball well enough. Like, Japan were just okay pressing us and then attacking. Saudi Arabia were kept the ball a little bit more where we could set up our press, right? We attack, we get a shot, or lose the ball in their end. Saudi Arabia sets up their structure. We drop off and defend. We're defending in this tight 4-3-3 where the 3 forwards and the 3 center mids are just really tight. So the ball goes to their left back. So let's say our right side of the field. We all shift over. And I think they want teams to hit those big switches to create, even if they could settle it and bring it down, it almost creates like a counter-pressing moment, right? Because they're not clean in possession. It's not really what they want to do. And I thought our counter-pressing was pretty good for most of this game. So let's say their left back touches it, he knocks it inside to a center mid who plays a long switch to their right back because there's no space on the other side of the field. Their right back has to take it down, complete a pass, but in that time, we've got numbers scrambling and going, right? So maybe it's Weston McKennie as the left center mid, rush it out to that guy on his first touch. He beats Weston McKennie, but then he has to deal with Dest or Acosta or Pulisic doubling down. And it's creating those counter-pressing moments. And I could see that as a trigger against the team, if there's a weak spot, maybe Wales or something. England, everyone's going to be really freaking good. But maybe this is something we do against another team. We just get super narrow and force them into big switches.
Maybe would it make sense to do it to a team that plays Wales that usually plays a 5-back? I don't know if they still do, but I've known in the past they have played a 5-back.
Yeah, maybe. I guess you're super tight, whichever side they go to, you're just squeezing that side and then hoping they hit the big switch. Yeah, I don't know.
I actually thought Saudi Arabia in that game, their right back did actually pretty well to take some of those long balls down.
Yeah, and he did, but that second pass,
yeah,
the guy's receiving, that's the counter pressing moment.
Okay, if we're going to talk about the press, I think we might have talked about this. What the U.S. press actually is. It's Saudi Arabia left center back has the ball. So everyone follow along with me. Left center back has the ball, right?
Yeah.
The American number 9 presses. Left winger for the U.S. will go to that right center back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this a few times. I forget which game. Honestly, it's been a week since the game. So, like, they would then try and switch. And like you said, when we're over there to go and counter press, I think it's up to whoever's closest, the center mid or the outside back for the U.S.
Yeah, center mid a lot of times. Mckenzie will get out there.
The center mid usually is the center mid.
Yeah, and it lets the left-sided winger like block the middle to stop a team from playing into their central midfielder. So I honestly kind of like our chances if we were to play like let's say Mauricio Sarri like coached Iran, right? And Jorginho was just suddenly from Iran. And they were playing like Sarri ball with Jorginho. Like I kind of like our chances being able to stop the ball into another team's defensive midfielder because of the way we press and how like organized it is, and we're always in the passing lanes and like forcing those big switches. And we saw that a lot against like Canada, and I think that was a point of focus in the middle of World Cup qualifying. Was our press?
Yeah.
I
think that's been constant.
Mm-hmm.
Like over the past year, probably.
Yeah. Anything else like in this game? I thought Pepe's pressing was pretty decent. We got a good shot off. I think Ferreira got a shot because Areola pressed one time. It's just like that pressing, if a team's going to play against it, I think works. Joe Scally looked pretty lively when he came in.
Yeah, Joe Scally looks pretty good.
Yedlin got stomped on. Anything else?
What'd you think about Mark Mckenzie?
So, in each game, he gave away a ball that almost led to a goal.
And obviously people are going to highlight that.
But other than that, I thought he was really good. But there are also 2 massive plays that he messed up. Like, so...
And not to bring it up again, but he has messed up in the past before.
Yeah. I don't think he's going. I think he's there as a good body, but he's not he's a valuable guy to have now, but I don't see him going to Qatar.
Yeah, like I said in the last episode, that center back room is farther along than any other position. Yet I was kind of ripping Long a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
anybody, we'll finish up here in a few minutes. Anybody play their way out of a spot in Qatar? Like, I think we could cross like Johnny Cardoso off the list.
I still see people putting Malik Tillman going to the World Cup. Hell,
there's 26 roster spots.
Take someone that, like, more useful. I'd rather take four number 9s than Tillman.
I think you're gonna say 4 goalies.
4 goalies.
I was like, how do you play small-sided games in World Cup training? Don't you need if you have 4 small-sided teams, you just let the goalie coach hop in as the 4th goalie?
Dude, true.
All right. So, like, for me, these games, I'm not as like pessimistic as other people, because people watch these games like, oh, we're gonna get trashed in the World Cup. One, these are friendlies, and I could tell you like the mentality is probably a little bit different, and the preparation and we'll switch it up a little bit in the World Cup. Like, if we're getting pressed, like, we'll take spaces behind, and I don't think that was the plan against Japan in that first half. And like, I think people just want to overreact. But I will say, I'm not as pessimistic because of this window, but I'm more pessimistic on the talent level that we have. Like, I think people coming into this World Cup were trying to say, like, oh, we have the talent to get to the quarterfinals or the semifinals or make a run and be asleep like a dark horse. Like, I don't think we're that. Like, I think we could do okay and get out of the group, and that's it.
Well, like Kevin Durant said, like, what's the quote?
The heck did Kevin Durant? Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
Yep.
So who has more talent, England?
Yeah, but we have the grit,
American spirit. But yeah,
my biggest takeaway is that the U.S. are still in the process of narrowing down their roster. While the steps go, find your players, find your roster. Like, we don't even know who's going to start in some positions, like the number 9, for example.
Yeah, but that's kind of easy to do.
That's easy to do. I didn't know that was easy to do.
That's an easy oh, Ferreira starts, I could just sub him out. Like, it's different than like if you put Dest on the left and change Anthony Robinson, you're changing the whole way you want to play.
I don't know. We have 3 different types of number 9s. If we want. But anyway, we're in the process of narrowing down players. Mm-hmm. Then there's the process of narrowing down how you want to play, style of play.
No, that's where you're wrong there. I think the style of play comes first.
You're right. You're right. The style of play probably should come first. But, dude, we're still focusing on players. We're still giving chances to players being like, oh, I want to see what this guy can do. Let me play him. When we're trying to prepare for the World Cup, when, like you said, Mark Mckenzie might not go to the – if he's giving him another chance to go to the World Cup when he might not fit the system. Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
Would a guy like Mark Mckenzie be playing if Carter Vickers or Chris Richards were healthy? I think a lot of these, like, second chances were given to guys because of injury. And, dude, like, Johnny Cardoso, right? He doesn't have any chance of going to the World Cup, but he comes in hungry as heck and is probably just buzzing to be in a training session. So, like, it lifts the energy of people. Like, yeah, it might suck to not give someone, like, a well-deserved chance, but those guys could lift the energy, and, like, keeping everybody invested in the, like, feel a part of it is something, too.
I just think they're still trying to find the players who are going to the World Cup, going on the roster, and then they're like, at the same time, let's form a style of play, but let's throw this player here, switch it up, no real identity. While Japan knows their players, they know their style of play, and now they're just using these games as practice to prepare for a game.
Yeah,
like what's it like to prepare for a game? Like, they're taking it like as if it's an actual World Cup game. Like I said, they prepared to play the U.S.
Yeah, I think we'll be maybe a little shaky in the first half of that first game. Like, there's still things to work on. But in the long run, I think our team probably knows, like, the principles of how we want to play. And Berhalter's probably thinking, like, oh, can we build up with 2 center backs and a pivot, or 2 center backs, maybe Ferreira as a false 9. I think, or 3 center backs, two pivots. Like, I think he has an idea in his head of, like, 2 or 3 different, like, slight tactical adjustments in a broader game principle type system. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that's what. So I think these are just. I think he kind of knows what he's doing. I think he knows the roster at this point.
Well, he better.
But, like, I'm sure, like, the Netherlands or, like, England, they don't know their roster either. Like, there's a lot of countries with, like, obviously way more talent than us. But it also, like, doesn't matter the 20 to 26th guy who like, why spend so much time tinkering on that?
Then why spend so much time playing him?
I guess just to lift the energy and the drive and keep guys on their toes. I don't know. Like, I'm telling you, though, Berhalter subbed in, like, platoons in World Cup qualifying. Like, I could see him, like, first game, like, whipping out, like a Paul Areola, like, Josh Sargent and Kellen Acosta like triple substitution, right? And then aren't you going to be happy that you played Paul Arriola all those minutes?
Yo, don't be bashing on Arriola.
No, I'm pro Arriola. I think he's better than people give him credit for.
Shoot, what was I going to say? Berhalter said that. Dang, what did he say in the post-game press conference? Oh, obviously, like the players are thinking, "Oh, I got to play well because I want to make the World Cup." Or else. He said that that the World Cup training. I don't know if he meant like games. I don't know. Is going to be easier for the players because they know that the roster's already set. There's no.
Yeah, he thinks it put added pressure on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a point there. And that's part of the reason why I think we struggled most of this camp. Like, if we had the exact 25 players and we were just like, hey, go play, like, I think we probably would have saw a better performance. That's why I'm not super worried about these performances in general. But I think overall, the talent isn't as high as people think. So we overreacted to one camp, but we're too high on the program as a whole. All right. Anything else we got to talk about? Because I got to get going soon.
What, you got a game?
No, I already had a game today, but huh?
How are the squads going?
It's going good. High school season's off to a big start. Well, I mean, it's like halfway through the season now. Almost halfway through the season with both of my teams. So full soccer mode. Soon to be full podcast mode.
Yeah,
I got to run some ideas by you for. I'm thinking maybe we do like a little survey or something and see what kind of content people want for the World Cup. Whether it's very short daily podcasts, maybe a weekly, or like a podcast every cycle. So like when all the groups play their first game, podcast. All the groups play a second game, podcast. Well, I guess it's got to be instant reaction after the U.S. game. And then after Group H plays, podcast to recap everything else.
Yeah, either way, I'm going to be podcasting. So,
Yeah, dude, so much podcasting, bro.
and watching football.
Football.
Play something from the soundboard before we go. We didn't use that enough this episode.
What? It's still going, too.
You can turn it off.
It's 30 seconds long. Next
30
time,
seconds long.
Chad will be the host so he can control the soundboard.
Yeah, next time.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it, man.
All right. Good stuff. That was episode 42. We'll be back fairly soon to talk about like something other than just men's national team, but we'll have plenty of World Cup previews coming up as well.
Yeah, I need a break from men's national team.
All right.
All right. See ya.